Hey everybody, welcome to our first episode of AZ Update. I'm your host, Anthony Bartolo, Senior Cloud Advocate with Microsoft, and my co-host, Thomas Maurer.
Hey, Anthony, good to see you.
Good
How
to
are you
see
doing
you.
today?
Good. How's quarantine treating you?
Lot of cheese, a lot of fondue eating, the usual things we do in Switzerland. So I'm pretty fine here.
I see you've yet to shave in a while. It looks like a mirror image of me.
Well, I tried a new style, so people told me it's okay. So I'm not 100% sure yet, but so far so good, I guess.
I'm
Try to get like some Canadian style in it.
I'm 100% enjoying this and the fact that, yeah, I might look fancy with my suit on, but my pajama pants are underneath. This is the awesomest thing to work in pajama pants because they're so comfortable. So, Thomas, shall we get started with the news?
Absolutely. We have some interesting stuff to cover, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk, the whole aspect of cloud means that, work happens everywhere. So there's a lot of things going on in Azure and happy to share that with all of you. All right, so let's get started. So first, we'll talk about the prerequisites to build a replica domain controller using ARM templates. And this is a awesome documentation that's coming to fruition here by our good colleague Shannon. She's building out on the customer requirements. So customers actually asked, hey, is there a plan to have a step through or a step-by-step on building ARM templates specifically for the creation of replica domain controllers? And there isn't currently documentation on this yet, but she's actually building out a 5-part series, and this is the prerequisite post on this series, that she's actually highlighting what is needed before even the creation of the template itself. In terms of hybrid connectivity, what considerations should be put into play when building out the template, DNS settings, secret management tools in terms of Key Vault and what can be used for passwords and what have you. And it's all listed here. And what I love about this is that she's broken it down. There is a why she's created this template first, which is the first post. This is actually the second post in the series that starts to go through the prerequisites that are required or what should be considered when building out this template. And then the next post is actually going to be, now let's start building the template, and this is what the first section of the template is going to look like.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that. To be honest, I'm a huge fan of infrastructure as code. And like when I saw coming up, like Shannon doing this series of blog posts on itopstalk.com, I got really excited. I mean, to be honest, there are probably more fancy things than a replica domain controller, but I think everyone will have a couple of these, right? So it's definitely a necessary thing.
Yeah, and you know what? It's what I love about this. This is based on customer requirement or customer ask, right? It's what I love about our team in terms of cloud advocates. When we interact with you, with the viewers of the show, or when we're at Ignite the Tour, or any other third-party event, we get so many questions that come to us in terms of help. I need to do this and I can't find the documentation. And I love the fact of how nimble our team is, and our team is a grand team that covers many facets of technology, specifically on Microsoft, but also third party as well. And is more than willing to help create this documentation. This is a precursor. This is not to replace docs.microsoft.com or Microsoft Learn, but this is hey, let's get you an answer really quickly, build it out for you on itopstalk.com, and then once it gets vetted, it gets ingested into docs.microsoft.com, and now becomes this resource. Not that this isn't a resource already, but people like Shannon who are passionate about technology and specifically what she's cornered the cloud market on in terms of her knowledge, and sharing that with the masses. When one person asks the question, multiple people ask the question, and that's what's so beneficial about individuals writing these posts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of our great parts of our job, right? Sometimes we get a lot of feedback on things which we can't really do something about it. We just go back to the engineering teams and talk them and explain them what the issue is. And then they're going to work on it. And it takes maybe, again, can take a half a year or longer actually until that feature gets released. But this is something really where we can jump in, write something and immediately help our customers. And again, I love that we have templates out there for creating domain controllers, but actually there was really nothing really there for replica domain controllers, right? Which you just can take and use for yourself, which is actually probably you need that even more than to create a new domain controller. You just need to have more replicas of it, right?
All right, so let's continue on with the news. Thomas, you're up next.
Yeah, so I had a very good week here on IT Ops Talk and also on my video series on Azure Unblocked, right? So this week, I was able to basically interview people from Microsoft Consulting Services. And this video, obviously, since we are all in quarantine right now, was recorded back, I think, in February when I was in Redmond campus, and there was also Microsoft Ready at the same time. So Microsoft Ready is basically the internal conference where Microsoft people from all over the world come together and they learn about the new features and technologies, and they share their stories and help each other, right? So while they were here, I had the chance and said, hey, let's come to the Channel 9 studios, and let's record like a show, an interview about what you're actually working on. And then I had Annika Maibom. She's from Germany. She's an Agile Project Manager. And Michel Luescher, which is in Microsoft Consulting Services, works as a solution architect in the office of the CTO of Microsoft Services, right? So two very interesting persons on that. And we basically discussed a little bit how they can help as consultants or as Microsoft Consultant Services, how they can help our customers to do projects and basically go forward by adopting Azure and basically implement Azure. Because as you know, there's not just about like technology, right? Or technology challenges. I mean, that's one thing, but it's also like adopting those cloud principles where you go really fast, or like if you think about DevOps principles and stuff like that. So I think that was really, really interesting. So I really enjoyed doing that show.
Now, in regards to, their unblocking cloud services, when they're working with customers, are they straight on implementing, cloud technology on behalf of the customers? Are they building out proof of concepts? What's the actual, premise behind what they're trying to accomplish?
They can be multiple things. As you said, it can be like what they're doing is actually like real projects, like customer wants to implement. But obviously they can also say, hey, customer, you want to have a proof of concept first. And then after the proof of concept, we go actually forward and actually go out and implement it. And again, you can hire them as much as you want. Like they are basically helping you with this. But what I was like thinking back in time when I was working as a consultant, we had these project phases where we said, okay, hey, we are sitting down, we go like for a month, we're writing a concept, how everything should be working, how the design of the architecture is of that installation or that project or that solution. And then basically you had like, I don't know, like 3-4 months implementation, depending again on the size of the project. I think today what they told me, and I also realized that doing other cloud projects, it's a different thing, right? You cannot sit down for a month again and write a concept, because as soon as you have written that concept, it's already almost outdated, right? Because the cloud moves so fast that you get new and better features, which allow you to do new designs. And so you need to do much smaller steps and figure out, hey, what is the vision where we want to go? But then go there in much smaller steps and just like do it from time to time, and also review what you just did and if it makes any sense.
So I love this. And the reason why I love this is prior to being a cloud advocate, I was on another team where we were a bunch of engineers and we would go out and work with customers in terms of building out a proof of concepts. The initiative, unfortunately, no longer exists, but back then we were doing stuff that was unheard of at the time. So you probably heard the story of the drones, how we made them self-aware. The one thing I'm gonna challenge you on is you had made mention, the cloud moves so rapidly, and in terms of the services and how fast they change, the adoption of this technology, it changes so rapidly that what you've done today cannot be used tomorrow. I'd argue that, the architecture that we built out for the drone has been reused so many times. And it's amazing the fact that all the process and planning that was created prior to is still valid today. What's gotten better is the services, right? So specifically with cognitive services. What we did back then in terms of identification of the life jacket was very limited in the fact that we could only choose one color. And We only we have to do different weather patterns, and we have to do different types of visibility and different types of altitude in terms of the drone looking at the life jackets. Cognitive services has matured so much. Computer vision has matured so much, but still using the same architecture. Now, instead of having the one drone do the flyby and doing the analysis, they can actually use multiple drones and do detection of multiple colors of life jackets. So what I love is even though services on Azure are quickly evolving, there's still use of architecture that was built 2-3 years ago, and have the ability to add that to the new services that are made available to further on the experience. What I also love about projects like the drone project was we then offered up these solutions as open source on GitHub, and that meant we offered it up to the world and enabled the world to really take hold of it and be more creative and add additional services to it. I'd love to see more of that, and we're definitely trying to incorporate that into cloud advocacy as well, and build out these stories and create these solutions. So definitely stay tuned, because something will come into fruition sometime in the future.
Ooh, I'm already looking forward to that. But trust me this. Look at me. I'm probably like a traditional Swiss person as it can be, right? And so I'm very conservative when it comes to new things. Well, that's actually not true. But you can imagine we are not really famous for just being very innovative and going very fast. We are very thinking a lot about the things we did in the past and then basically apply this. And the same is true. And I'm agreeing with you. Things we have done and designed like years ago, they can be still valid and they can still work. And you can still adapt them. I'm just saying, in some cases, there are probably better ways of doing that, right? And so we all need to know, like, if you write something for a customer, like a design proposal or something like that, and then 2 weeks later, after the customer gets this, he comes basically back and says, hey, there's a new blog on Azure.com which says, in networking, we can now do this, right? Why did we not do our network design using exactly this solution? And I think that way we need to get used to it. And then it's not that it's a problem. The old solution still works, or the solution we designed before still works. But again, there are sometimes better ways of doing it. And the question is really, do we actually then need to go and do the latest and greatest? Absolutely not, right? However, if you move your projects the processes a little bit in that direction, you can basically go out and see, hey, we can actually adapt to changes. And I think that's the critical part of what I learned in this Azure Unblocked video. Now, I think you have something interesting to share about cryptocurrency mining attacks, right?
Oh yeah, this one was a real doozy. Thomas, do you consider yourself a security specialist?
Oh, definitely not. I think I'm probably the worst person when it comes to security.
Well, and so this is the thing that makes this article so interesting. So this was actually on the Azure blog. Azure Security Center, which is the solution that automates a lot of the attack detection or intrusion detection, that's occurring in organizations today. As you're probably aware, your data is the new currency and people want to add it to sell it to the highest bidder. There was a scenario that recently occurred where there were Kubernetes clusters that were being attacked to be used for mining a cryptocurrency. And what was great was Azure Security Center actually went forward and detected that this attack was actually going on in the containers themselves. What's further to this is that Yossi, who is the person from the research and engineering support on the Azure Security Center team, actually went forth and dove into what was attacked, how it was brought to fruition, or how it was brought to the attention of those at the organization using Azure Security Center, and then how the breakdown of the attack actually occurred, and what was necessary to then deal with this. Also sharing for future or for other organizations that are going through and reading this article, what steps should they take to avoid these type of money attacks based on what was learned on Kubernetes and through Azure Security Center in terms of the detection that has occurred. A big thing in regards to this is RBAC, role-based access control. If you sat through in the governance session, either at Ignite or Ignite the Tour, there's two, you probably learn a lot about role-based access control and the ability of enabling least privilege. And this scenario here, this organization that got attacked didn't have that enablement. And so the hacker actually went through as an admin, or got access to the admin account, and was able then to infiltrate themselves into the Kubernetes cluster to start utilizing the mining. What's so interesting about this article is that how Security Center picked this up, knew that the invader had taken over the admin account, and was starting to use the cluster to do mining on their own. So Thomas, we're not specialists, right? We're not security specialists, but it's so interesting how this tool really brings to light what could occur when your organization is not set up, and then allows you to address it, or shows you what you need to do to address it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is like, I had a smile on my face when you start talking about this, because it's unbelievable how many conversations I had out there telling people or people telling me that the cloud is not secure, right? And then thinking about the customer environments I have seen all over the world where they just did on-prem stuff, there would have been no way, a lot of customers would have detected that by in their on-prem environment where they don't have a service, or they didn't enable a service like Azure Security Center. And don't get me wrong, you can today onboard your on-prem services to Azure Security Center. However, Azure Security Center is a cloud service, right? And so this just shows the power of the cloud. And I mean, we have that from experience, right? I love when we have our Azure resources out there. I mean, we have a lot of our labs and demo environments and things we build for Learn and stuff like that. A lot of times, or sometimes, you get an email and telling us, hey, by the way, there is a security alert or something you should basically consider, encrypting that storage account or whatnot, right? So it really helps us to basically make sure that we are actually secure as well. And I love Security Center. I also love what we do with things like Azure Sentinel and all the security products we have currently, which most of them are cloud-based, right?
I'm glad you brought that up. Azure Sentinel, the next step above Security Center that can be processing these attacks and actually deal with attacks automatically based on the rules set forth by the organization that's deployed Sentinel. It's interesting, just the evolution of how we've gone through security. Back in the day, being the Windows Phone specialist, then became the security specialist for mobile. How before we used to put fencing or cages around devices, and now we've gone to the point where not only are we protecting the data that resides on these devices, not from just an encryption standpoint of the device itself, but actually hard coding the data to be protected. Now we have these automation tools that go forward and detect when the attacks occur. And I know Microsoft has invested billions of dollars in this, and it's so awesome to see this come to fruition, and actually seeing it being used, and being used by individuals that are not security specialists, by organizations that don't have a security specialist on hand. I get asked a lot, in terms of Security Center, I'm a small business. Should I take advantage of this? There's a lot of learnings that are done in Security Center that are implemented into solutions like Office 365. And, when you get that comment, well, I'm a small business, I don't want to, pay for the cloud. I could just put a desktop computer and run my organization that way through that one computer. There's the advantage, right? The inherent services that you have now access to help safeguard your business. How much would it cost you when you have that box that's sitting on your table, and you're surfing sites that you shouldn't be surfing, and now your box has been attacked, and all your credit card information that you've captured from your customers is now out in the open, right? This is the considerations that all size businesses should take into consideration when looking at cloud adoption. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, I have to say two things basically. First of all, I mean, to be honest, is a security solution in the cloud basically makes so much sense to me, right? If you are a company and you want to have a solution like this, and you basically need to build another system in your environment and take care of that as well, that's not what you want to do, right? You basically want to have it as a service and basically just grab, hey, quickly onboard it. And you mentioned small, medium-sized businesses, but same is I think true for enterprises as well, is that how many security experts do you have in your company which do security every single day, right? And then a lot of small, medium business companies probably cannot afford to have a person 100% dedicated for security. Guess what? We have hundreds, if not thousands of them. Basically, we're using that data and helping you. So what I love as well is that, like if you look at like Security Center and other security products of us, we have like this threat intelligence we are offering to our customers. So you can imagine that we at Microsoft, while we run these cloud services like Bing, Xbox Live, Outlook.com, and so on, we get attacked like permanently, right? There are attacks running over and over. And we actually know a lot about what's going on in that world by analyzing these attacks and basically figuring out. So we know, for example, which IP addresses belong to a botnet. Now, instead of just keeping that data for ourselves, we are basically offering this to our customers. So they can basically take, let's say, if they enable Azure Security Center and one of their systems, for example, connects to an IP address we know is part of a botnet, we can send that customer an alert and tell them, hey, one of your resources connects to an IP address, which we clearly know is not a good place. And so this is really a big advantage. I think the value is immense if you look at that. And the other part I love is when we talk about Security Center or Sentinel, it's not just about making the cloud secure, right? It's really about that hybrid approach. Sometimes we don't highlight that enough. It's really like you connect your on-prem environment to Azure Security Center or to Azure Sentinel, and you get all the logs from that and basically use the cloud to make your on-prem environment even better. So I really love that. And that's such a, when I look at it, it's such an easy thing to do. Of course, there are like some advanced things which you need to learn and to work with, but you get a immediately benefit, right? There is not a 2-month project going on or 3-month project going on until you get some value out of it. It's really, really fast. And again, not saying you move to everything to the cloud, but you use the cloud to make your on-prem even better.
All right, let's continue on with the news. Next up, exam AZ220.
Yes. So this week was what, again, excited. I mean, we had in the last couple of weeks, we had news around Azure certification, right? So we had the beta exams for the new AC 104, which is Azure Administrator. We had the new beta exam for AC 204, which is for Azure Developer. They both are in beta right now, so you can go out and do them. But you will get the result yet. But this week, the AC 220 Microsoft Azure IoT Developer went live. So as went out of beta, so basically you can go out and take it today. And if you are a developer on Azure, which is like, I mean, if you looked out, you probably had looked at the Azure Developer exam. But for most of our developers who work with IoT, that didn't really apply, right? There are so many different kinds of things and roles you can do. And there's something, as we would say, a IoT developer. So that exam is really designed for you. And you can now go out and take that exam. So if you're interested in that, good luck with that.
So here's the thing. I do a lot of, talking around IoT. I've done a lot of projects. One of the Mousetrap projects that I did way back when, architecture is still being used today. Is IT a part of IoT, right? I know if you take out the O, IT is there. But this is a question I get a lot. The fact that, I'm around, attending these conferences and speaking to IoT, and people come up to me and say, well, I'm an IT professional. Why should I be involved in IoT? How does this make sense? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so, I mean, to be honest, absolutely you should be there, right? I don't like to say, like, even though the exam is called IoT Developer, and I consider myself not to a developer, I still believe that this is like something I can do. And I believe like it's basically the IoT IT professional, if you will. And it doesn't matter if you're a developer or IT pro or whatever. If you're like going out, you don't care if you need to like whatever you need to achieve, right? You care about that and not about like what is it called. And so I'm super interesting. I also started a couple of playing around with these IoT chips we just released. We have a couple of them like for previews and demos like that. So really like connecting up just to like measure the temperature of your flat in a certain amount of time, and then basically see, hey, when did it get warm, when did it get cold? I mean, that's already super interesting for me, and you can do a lot of cool stuff. And I know you did a lot of stuff with IoT, as far as I know.
Well, this is the thing, right? And what I've been telling IT professionals when they ask me is, are these devices not a part of the organization that you are a part of? Are these devices not connected to the architecture that you govern over? Should you not have a voice in terms of the security or the management of these devices? You know, the data. Who's to have access to this data? You know, on Azure IoT Hub, they've just introduced role-based access control. So the same governance rules that you would have on resources inside of Azure for, you know, enablement of virtual machines and what have you, now also exists for IoT. In terms of playing with IoT, I literally just got this. Oh, it's green, so it looks faded through. I'm hiding amidst the waterfall there. I just picked up this Judson Nano device on the recommendation of Paul DiCarlo, another great cloud advocate with us on our team. And with this device here, I'm actually going to look at replicating the drone project in a much bigger scale on a much smaller device than what we had previously. And the beauty of this is, like we talked about earlier, right? What you build out in terms of architecture is still relevant. It just gets further along in terms of its path with the adoption of new services or the evolution of existing services that now evolve to the next level and offer more functionality. When playing with this project, I'll definitely be writing up what's been done in terms of the creation of the solution to share with the masses for everybody to replicate. But I'm also going to do this to educate and share those my experiences with IT professionals in terms of what to look at next in the adoption of IoT. What should you think about in terms of security and enabling least privilege in terms of data that's being captured? And even because these devices at the endpoints are becoming, you know, centralized or picked out for attacks, how you can safeguard the device itself to ensure that these attacks don't occur, or if they do, how they can self-heal. Maybe something we'll cover on a future show.
Yeah. No, there's absolutely a lot which we need to do there. And again, a lot of to do. Like, again, I don't care if you're an IT developer or IT operations person or whatever. At the end, we all need to like support the project, support the business, and there's so much work we can actually do there. So I absolutely believe that there is a lot of room there for IT professionals in the IoT space. And as you said perfectly, making sure these solutions are secure or are patched and updated, and you find out that they can't be attacked and stuff like that. So definitely a lot of potential there.
All right, let's continue on. I think we're going to go through what's going to be occurring next week.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you what you're doing next week, because I'm going to do something awesome next week. So next week, as probably some of you know, we had this community event called Global Azure Bootcamp, and those were like basically one day where the whole world comes together. Like everywhere, we had these small events where people together learned Azure in presentations, in workshops, and all of that. Unfortunately, again, everyone is stuck at home, and so the creators of this event basically said, okay, let's do a virtual Global Azure Virtual 2020 event where you can then see, hey, everyone can basically send their own videos, send their own streams, and then there will be presentations worldwide which you can watch and live stream over that week. So it will be, I think, if I'm correct, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You will have 3 days full of Azure content from Azure experts and Azure users and Azure administrators and developers from all over the world. So I'm happy to be part of that. I will have like 2 sessions in that streaming event. I will try to do some live streams and show a little bit about Azure governance and how you can get started, as well as talking a little bit of our hybrid features, as I so often do.
This is what I love about our community, right? Everybody wants to continue sharing their knowledge. Everybody wants to continue learning. we all want to be learn-it-alls in terms of absorbing as much information as we can. Even in the midst of this epidemic that's occurring, we still want to learn, we still want to participate, we still want to share. And I love the fact how, solutions like, or events like the Global Azure Bootcamp go online and, they convert themselves from an in-person event. Let's continue the learning. Let's continue the sharing of knowledge. Let's go online. It is, something of a change, right? There's a lot to be said when you're talking with an individual or a group of individuals in front of you and you shake their hands and you make yourself real. But in this day and age and what's occurring right now around the world, it's such an amazing thing that people still want to connect. People still want to learn. And so when events like Global Azure Bootcamp, go online and, we're going to press on, we're going to make sure that, the community stays engaged, stays connected. Such a wonderful thing, such a great way for us to learn, right? I love participating in these conferences. I love interacting with all of you out there and learning from you, right? I have a lot to share. You have a lot to share. I love to listen. I love to listen to stories and what people are enabling and asking questions in terms of how do I get certain resources or these resources don't exist. Where do I go from here? Events like these are so amazing because they continue that connectivity amidst all this epidemic that's going on, but still allows to also have this connectivity between us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, very important here. I mean, we are Microsoft speakers. We probably help and present, right? But this project is really purely community driven, right? There's not Microsoft saying, hey, we're doing this now and please join us to do sessions. No. This is the community driving this. And again, there are also some other events I have to mention. There's also a virtual global bootcamp going on, I think, in the UK. Which is also interesting, where you can then also watch. They have a YouTube channel where they also will stream or basically release videos as well. So there's a lot of different things going on next week, but all around subject like Global Azure and Global Azure Virtual 2020. So definitely, if you want to learn more about Azure, definitely check that out. And speaking of learning, I think you have something interesting there to share, our MS Learn module of the week.
So we definitely got to come up with a theme or something to bring this in. Yes, we're, every show we're going to be showcasing Microsoft Learn modules that are available. What I love about Microsoft Learn, if you've seen me present before, I always talk about this. It utilizes sandbox technology. What does that mean? Everything is hands-on. The labs are step-by-step. And the beauty of it is you're not using your subscription, you're using ours. And when you're using our subscription, it's at no cost to you. So you actually get to go walk through all the steps. And, if you're like me and you learn through hands-on, Microsoft Learn is a phenomenal tool for you to do that. Now, this week's Learn module of the week is the introduction to Azure IoT. We stayed with the IoT theme purposely because this module is a great starting module if you're starting, to get your interest piqued by IoT. You're an IT professional, you hear about the buzzwords of IoT, you hear the leadership talk about it, and the developers talk about it in your organization. You want to get on it, you want to have that voice in terms of what's required or what should be considered from a security perspective, from an architectural perspective, so on and so forth. This module will walk you through the start of understanding of what Azure's IoT offering is, everything from IoT Central to IoT Hub and all the management tools in between, and everything is hands-on. To further that, you don't have to make the investment like I have to gone out and bought, a multitude of IoT devices. All the IoT devices are actually virtualized. So in the sandbox technology, they've actually virtualized the IoT devices that are capturing fictitious data that you are then able to manipulate amidst the Learn module itself. So if you want to check this out, what we'll do is, after this broadcast, we will include all the links, of course, into the blog at itopstock.com, and this will be part of it, and we will be showcasing future modules as we go forth in terms of the MS Learn module of the week.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Thomas? In terms of this module, have you gone through the IoT module yet?
To be honest, I haven't. So I did focus right now a lot on the redo my Azure Administrator and Azure Developer certifications. So I did not really focus on the IoT one, but currently I'm building out my study guide for the AC 2020. And that's usually one thing I do before I start learning for exams. I basically go out and check like what the resources are actually like required to basically go through the exam. And so I basically go to Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Docs and basically check out, hey, what skills they're looking for, and then basically go to these platforms and figure out, okay, which modules I'm going to do. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the Azure IoT one as well. But back to you. Have you done the module yet?
Yeah, so I've actually completed this one, the IoT module. There's a couple of other ones that I've completed as well, based on interest, right? So I've been dabbling in IoT for a long time. I actually just recently picked up a couple of smart bulbs as well. I've been playing with these. These are available at your local retailer. And so, and I talk about this a lot in my talks, in that how easy it is to adopt IoT, but what we don't take in consideration is the security aspect of this. Because now that you have this in your house that's connected to your Wi-Fi, it's now an addressable spot that can also be attacked. And so what I do is I'll look at this stuff, based on what I've learned in foundations in terms of Azure IoT modules on Microsoft Learn, and take it to the next step in terms of testing, putting it into a LAMP, understanding what the connectivity points are for this device, what port should I shut off on my router in terms of connectivity to this device to, lessen the attack vector of the device itself. All started in terms of learning from modules on MS Learn, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, and it is so funny how far IoT has come, right? I was just thinking a couple of days ago. Basically, my coffee machine has now Bluetooth and basically lets me connect with the phone to that. My lights are obviously connected to some sort of a solution there as well. And then even more funny, like I think 2 weeks ago, I updated the firmware on my toothbrush, right? I mean, like on my toothbrush, seriously. Like, so it is actually like everywhere and becomes more and more important. And I don't have the numbers in my head, but there are some like massive numbers, how many million or even billion of IoT devices are currently out there and will be out there in the future. So no, exciting times, definitely.
Well, this is the thing, right? They say within the last 2 years, 90% of the world's data has been created over the last 2 years. And it's only growing that much faster. If you can walk into the local retailer and buy an IoT device and connect it to your infrastructure within minutes, how much data is actually being created? Even with the light bulb, and I'm starting to understand what this light bulb actually does. Yeah, I could take my phone and turn the light on and off. That's great. But I can actually see it's capturing how often the light's going on and off. So what I can actually do is pull out a report in terms of data consumption and have an understanding, how much electricity am I using with these light bulbs when they turn on and off, and at what times of the day. And in Ontario, in Canada, we have a correlation with the hydro companies that the electricity actually fluctuates at 5 minutes at a time. Sometimes it's at a negative balance or a negative charge where, 3 o'clock in the morning, the hydro company is actually paying you to use electricity. So, and having that understanding, you can pretty much do a guess in terms of what your bill is going to look like at the end of the month, which is really cool.
I was thinking when you brought up your example, like in Canada, we use IoT for something. I was thinking like, okay, that definitely, now it comes a story for maple leaf syrup, but yeah.
do you still have that bottle of maple syrup left over?
There is, I think we ate like half of it. I think it's almost like, it's almost gone. Like it's only half of it. And so, no, really enjoyed the maple leaf syrup, definitely. For our pancakes in the morning.
Well, somebody still owes me Swiss chocolate, but I'm not going to say who.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, but now it's currently it's very difficult to give you some Swiss chocolate right now. But no, I will find a plan to ship some Swiss chocolate to your location of choice, so you can actually taste the best chocolate in the world. If someone from Belgium is on our live stream right now, I apologize for saying that, but come on, it's true. It's true.
All good. Thomas, it's been an amazing first show. What did you think? This was really cool, eh?
I think for the first time, it was absolutely awesome. It was fun talking to you. We had a lot of fun. Again, I hope we can do this again.
Oh, the plan is to do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What time is it for you, Thomas?
That's 4 p.m. Central European time.
Perfect.
So Yeah, definitely look out. So again, gonna enjoy that, doing that every Friday. Check out our blog, itopstock.com, where you can also find every Friday our blog post. You will get the URL. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, so you will get notified if we go live. And so I really hope also our guests here enjoyed our first episode.
Also, all your questions that have been made available inside of the YouTube chat, we will take those questions and we'll answer them inside of the blog post as well. So don't fret. Obviously, Thomas and I being on camera, we don't have anybody behind us in terms of the scenes monitoring the chat. But we'll make sure that all questions that were put forward are answered. And we'll do better in future to make sure that we have somebody manning the chat room to capture the questions as they come in. Thomas, it's been an awesome show. I'm going to let you go, but thank you for co-hosting alongside, and look forward to doing this again next Friday.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, Anthony.
Bye all.